It's Nigeria. It's 1997. I'm 9 years old. I'm in a bus full of strangers on the way to the capital, Lagos, to actually catch a flight the next day to migrate over to England. The bus breaks down and the driver just legs it. He just leaves us basically stranded in the middle of nowhere. Hi, my name is Dennis Fobbs. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm an architect. I'm a father to two beautiful kids. Let me tell you a story. I want to use YouTube as a platform to share my journeys and things like that, and lessons I've learned, in the hope that I can be able to pop those learnings back. It's my way. This is my way of actually giving back. It's one way I'm trying to use as a means to kind of give back. England wasn't home yet, at least not at the very start, because I went from, outdoor play in the heat, dusty and things like that, to cold and bricky type buildings and stuff like that. So there's a major change, there's a major shift in sort of my livelihood, right? I miss Nigeria, man. I miss the smells, I miss the people, rhythms, the noise, the disorganization, you know what I mean? Like, I just miss those things that actually came about. And as a result, when I was in England, my brothers used to have these international calling cards. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that, right? International calling cards, you scratch the pound and you get 16 digits, right? I used those cards to call my friends back home at the time. And when my brothers didn't actually lend me those cards, I stole those little cards, you know what I mean? Like, brother would be in the house, brothers would be in the house, and I would, if they were watching this, I would pinch the wallet, basically. I would pinch their cards. And how I did that was, I would just basically take the card, take a visual snapshot of the card, and put that card back. And they were none the wiser that the card was actually spent until it was time for them to actually use those cards. In private, I was Nigerian. Outside, I was something other than Nigerian, British, trying to be British cool, trying to just basically fit in or anything like that of that nature. And that feeling basically just followed me all the way through to university, trying to really identify this whole thing around identity, right? You really trying to identify, like, where do I sort of fit in? Where's my place here? Because the world is constantly asking you to pick a place, pick a side, choose a color, the world is constantly just poking you for you to choose a side so you actually fit in. So university, it was one of the first realizations of having to sort of address the whole thing around identity, which I hold quite dearly to me, and this is what the lessons life actually teaches you. My friends didn't actually get it. I was ridiculed. I can't even say that word. I was ridiculed. My friends would be like, what are you trying to be? Like, are you a Nigerian? Are you British? Like, what are you trying to be? And I was ridiculed a lot for that, especially in those university years, right? And trying to find a balance of where I sort of fit in. And then you come to realize that it's whether or not you're allowed to be who you are and where you actually go. I don't know if that sort of makes sense. Maybe that's why I tried many different things. I tried illustration. I tried graphics design. I did a little bit of photography. Nothing just actually worked. You can see how that sort of is baked into your identity, sort of bakes into like who you are and what you can sort of do or what you want to do. So there's all these questions around really trying to identify for, like, what are you trying to, where are you trying to get to? What is it you want to use as a means to sort of identify who you are as a person? I failed a lot. I failed technology exams, given that's kind of what I studied. I basically missed opportunities. I started to think, I'm not cut for any of this stuff. Like, I'm not good at any of this stuff. And you really start to doubt yourself. And that you can go into that spiral, right, of just not being able to find your way. I mean, going from a kid who can memorize numbers quite easy and things like that, as simple as that might sound, it was kind of like a superpower. To me, at least, it was kind of like a superpower in that respect. And I spent an awful great deal of time trying to rekindle that ability, as if it was going to be a means to, you know what I mean? Like, it was going to be a means to solve my problems moving forward. It was going to be a means for me to be able to do things smarter, faster, and just get ahead in life, basically, and just keep winning and stuff like that. But it really wasn't. It really wasn't. The emphasis had been on using it as a means to learn and move forward to the next level rather than focus on moving back. And that's kind of what I did at that point in my life. Do you know what I mean? So it is something that I learned, that I was failing and not being able to recall that ability, and I had to figure out some other way to actually get to the next level, ultimately. And the more I tried, the more I desperately just tried to just get that ability, the more inadequate I felt. The more inadequate I felt, like I was like, this is not going to happen. Like, you are not good. You're not as good as you think you are. And you struggle with that. You find that, especially as a young man, you really want answers quickly and fast. And sorry to tell you that, but some things you just need experience to kind of like teach you that in order for you to be able to use that as a superpower, call it what you may. And then it was 2015. I'm sat at work and I write down on a notebook how to become an architect. For some reason, it felt huge just writing that down, but it just felt like I'd found something that stuck. It was not a. It was a target. It was sort of a target, and I even understood. I understood at that time that was something I was going to be really, really big to kind of like chew on, right? Like how do you eat an elephant, right? They say a piece at a time, right? And I just wrote it down how to become an architect, and I didn't know. I had no clue how I was going to do that, but I just knew it felt like it was the right thing to do at that given time. And it was one point in my life where I realized I had stopped drifting. I'd stopped drifting and chasing all these other dreams about being able to have this ability to do things. I'd stopped drifting. I made a decision that, talking about decision frameworks and things like that, that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give this a go. I am going to try and figure this stuff out. And I'd stopped drifting. Writing that becoming an architect didn't basically change. It didn't change overnight, right? But it gave me sort of like a template for how to break things down, how to try things out. And I started to write things down. I started to catalog my thinking. I started to catalog my decisions around, what are the things I'm doing, what it's working, what isn't working. And as a basis, I started to see patterns in things I've actually done. And I can go back, I can go back now and think about some of the decisions I've made over decades and stuff like that. I'm not that old, but I can go back and get back some decisions I've made, and I can see why some stuff would have worked and some stuff wouldn't work, because there's this sort of mental framework for actually making decisions. And just the act of actually writing things down and reflecting upon it was such a good thing to do at that time. And it wasn't just writing things down. The people in my life at that time were so detrimental to my change. Ultimately, there are a few key people in my life who were just paving the way on how things should actually be done. They had their stuff together. They just basically were doing things. They were moving forward in their careers and making decisions about growing up. Do you know what I mean? About moving to the next level. And I just inadvertently started to study them. At first, it comes in stages. At first, it's jealousy. I'm not a jealous character, but it's human nature to just be like, why them? What are they've got that is so special that you don't have? Do you know what I mean? But it was, wait, put that aside. Let's be subjective about it. What is it they're doing that is so different to what I'm doing? And just studying those people and actually having honest conversations like, look, them telling you, look, you're messed up, man. Like, what are you doing in your life? Like, what are you trying to get to? And just studying that and just taking those lessons and using those lessons to reinforce my own ability. And like someone like David Goggins would say, right, calcifying this innate ability to like just do things over and over again, right? I mean, not the theory of a madman, but ultimately just doing things so that you can start to see change. And just doing things little by little from the people around me was so detrimental to my journey of getting to the place where I can say I was comfortable to start making some kind of progress, or what I deemed success is subjective, isn't it, right? What I deemed was actually successful to me as an individual. And that's when I stopped reacting. That compounded a role, obviously, right? I stopped reacting. I started to be more proactive in things I wanted to do. If I wanted to do things, it also involves, I love art. I wanted to do a little bit of art and just being realistic about, look, are you going to become an artist? Are you going to become a broke artist? Or are you going to figure some other way? I'm not saying don't chase your dreams, but you can be smart about things like that. How are you going to juggle this ability to chase your passions and your dreams and things you love doing in order to keep you sane from losing your mind? You know what I mean? So those moments were quite detrimental to my journey to getting me to where I am actually ultimately today. And this mindset has carried me to where I am today. I live in a new country. I live in Denmark. I'm married. I have 2 amazing, beautiful kids. And I spend an awful lot of time helping my kids identify or come to terms with the different flavors of who they are. Like, there's a book I read about cake mix. I forgot the author. That book I love that book because my daughter couldn't quite figure out, like, she was asking questions. In mixed race kids moves to a different country. What questions do they ask? Why do they have long hair? Why do I want to look like them and not necessarily understand why she looks the way she does? A conversation for another time. But the idea is I spend an awful lot of time like helping my kids starting to bake this whole idea that you're multiple flavors, and embrace that. And you can use that as a basis to choose who you want to be. If you have multiple kids and they want to be, one says, I want to identify as this, another wants to identify as that. It is possible. It's actually plausible, the whole thing around 2 truths. But anyway, I spend a lot of time thinking about that. And I'm working that and actually raising my kids. And actually raising my kids to be able to identify who they are, where they sort of come from. Staying fit as a 42-year-old. I am 42 right now. I might not look it. I know. Genes. Some of you might be like, nah, you look it. But yeah, I do an awful lot with exercising and stuff like that. I love that stuff. It re-energizes me and it fits into my own psyche and things like that. Again, another conversation for another time. And really just, I guess the gist is, even when I'm tired, staying present. I'm being in the moment as of right now and using all the lessons I've compounded and learned over the years in order to sort of do that. Most days, I just want 1%. That's the target. The target is 1%. You can consistently see improvement atomically on a daily basis, 1%. And over the year, that ultimately sort of compounds. This is what Fobbs Tapes is about. It's about the people, it's about the patterns, it's about the learnings, and using those as a means to help identify, answer questions, and ultimately be on Google, right? Like, the answer is not on Google, the answer is in you, and you have the ability to reflect upon some of the things you've done and use that as a basis to make decisions that will help direct your life. This is what Fobbs Tapes is about, and this is my way. This is my way of giving back. So that said, if any of this resonates with you and stuff like that, stick around. Let's share stories, as I hope to. My plan is to share these stories, my lessons learned, and how those can in fact help someone else, and actually maybe most likely invite key people or interested people from my perspective to them not necessarily always being aware on how they've impacted and changed my life for the better. That said though, stay blessed. Deuce. Till next time.